One imagine waking up every morning knowing that today might be the day you starve. That today your Lord might take everything you've worked for. That today's survival itself is a luxury you cannot afford. This was your reality if you were born a peasant in medieval Europe. And what you did to survive will haunt you. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. You open your eyes in the darkness. The straw beneath you is damp and rotting. Your back aches from yesterday's labor, and you know today will bring more of the same. You are a peasant in medieval Europe, and you were born into a world that does not care if you live or die. There are no knights coming to save you. No grand castles offer you shelter. You are part of the 90%, the forgotten masses who built cathedrals you will never worship in, who grew food you will never taste, who died in wars you will never understand. Your existence is not a life. It is a slow march toward death, interrupted only by brief moments where you manage to postpone the inevitable. You did not choose this. You were born into serfdom, shackled to land you will never own, serving a lord who sees you as livestock. And when the harvests fail, when disease sweeps through your village, when winter comes and there is not enough food for everyone, you will face choices that will break something inside you. You will do things that contradict everything you believe about yourself, about God, about what it means to be human. Because survival is not noble. Survival is not heroic. Survival at its core is ugly, desperate, and unforgiving. This is your story. This is what you endured. This is what you became. You wake before dawn because you have no choice. Your body screams for more rest, but the Lord's bath will come if you are late to the fields, and his whip leaves scars that take weeks to heal. You are a serf, which means you belong to this land the way a plow or an ox belongs to it. You cannot leave. If you run, you will be hunted down, dragged back, and punished in front of everyone as a warning. Your grandfather tried to escape once. They broke his legs with hammers so he could never run again. He died young, unable to work, a burden his family could not afford. You stumble outside into the cold morning air. Your home is a single room shared with your wife, your 3 children, 2 chickens, and a pig. The walls are mud and straw. The roof leaks when it rains. There is no window because glass is a luxury you will never see, and open windows in winter mean freezing to death. You own 2 tunics, both filthy and worn through at the elbows. You own a wooden bowl, a spoon, a knife with a blade barely sharp enough to cut bread. This is everything you have. This is everything you will ever have. 3 days a week, you work your Lord's fields for free. During planting and harvest, it becomes 6 days. You watch the sun rise and set over land. You till crops, you plant grain, you harvest, knowing that when the work is done, your Lord will take almost everything. Last year the harvest was good. Your family still nearly starved because 65% went to the manna house. You saw them carrying away cartloads of your wheat, your barley, your oats while your children cried from hunger. You said nothing because speaking against your Lord is treason and treason means death. The taxes never stop. You must pay to use the Lord's mill to grind your grain into flour. You must pay to use his oven to bake your bread. You must pay to cross the bridge to reach the market. You must pay when your father dies, surrendering your best animal before you can inherit his tiny plot of land. When your daughter marries, you pay again. Every aspect of your existence has been monetized by people who do nothing but own. And if you cannot pay, they take your food, your animals, your tools. They take everything until there is nothing left to take. And then they watch you starve. The web of power. The Tudor court was more than a palace, it was a web. Every smile hid a plan. Every favor was a trap. Anne and Catherine were not the first victims of power, and they would not be the last. Each execution was wrapped in justification, treason, adultery, betrayal. But beneath those words was the same unspoken truth: a woman who rose too high, who spoke too freely, who dared to hold influence, had to fall. The tower's stones remember them all. The queens who walked proudly to their deaths, not as victims, but as symbols of the dangerous beauty of ambition. As dawn broke once more over London, the city stirred awake, unaware that history's ghost still whispered through its streets. of crowns won by love and lost to fear. You hear whispers of things happening in other villages, things that cannot be spoken aloud but that everyone understands. You hear that in the next town they dug up the cemetery and ate the recently buried dead. You hear that travelers have been found with human meat in their packs. You hear that some families, when faced with 5 children and food for 2, made choices that ended in shallow graves in the forest. You tell yourself you would never do such things. You tell yourself you are not an animal, but your children are starving and you are starting to understand that there are no lines you will not cross when they are dying in front of you. One night your youngest son stops crying. He is too weak even for that. His breathing is shallow, his eyes unfocused. He is 4 years old and he is dying. You hold him and make a calculation that will haunt you for the rest of your life. If he dies, the food meant for him can go to your older children who might survive. You could help him pass more quickly, spare him days of suffering, or you could give him your own rations and likely die yourself, leaving your wife alone with children she cannot feed. You do not know what you choose in this moment. Historians do not record what individual peasants like you decided when faced with impossible choices. They only record that millions died and those who survived carried scars that never healed. You are 32 years old when the plague arrives, though you do not know your exact age because no one recorded your birth. You only know that you have survived longer than most. Your father died at 28. Your mother at 25 giving birth to a child who did not survive the night. You have 3 children living and 2 in the ground. This is normal. This is what life is. Then the merchant comes through your village and 3 days later he is dead. Then the blacksmith, then the priest, then your neighbor, your friend, your wife's sister. They develop lumps in their necks and groins, black swellings that grow until they burst. They vomit blood. They develop black patches on their skin that spread like ink stains. They scream in agony, begging for death, and death comes quickly. Within a week, half your village is gone. You dig graves until your hands bleed, and still there are more bodies than holes in the ground. You try everything to protect your family. A traveling physician tells you that the plague comes from bad air, so you burn herbs constantly, filling your veil with smoke that makes everyone cough. Another says to bleed yourself, so you open a vein and watch your blood drip into a bowl, weakening yourself when you need strength most. Someone suggests sitting in the latrine because the terrible smell will drive away the plague's bad air. You do it. You sit in human waste, breathing through your mouth, desperate and humiliated because maybe possibly it will save your children. It does not. Your oldest son develops the swellings. You watch him deteriorate over 3 days that feel like 3 years. He is 12, almost a man, and he dies crying for you to make it stop. You cannot make it stop. You can only hold him and lie that it will be all right. That God has a plan that he will see heaven. You do not believe any of it. When he finally dies, you feel something inside you break. Not grief. Exactly. Grief is too clean a word. What you feel is a kind of numbness, a detachment from reality. Because if you let yourself truly feel what is happening, you will go mad. You survive the plague, though you are not sure why. Half your family is dead. Your village is a ghost town. The Lord is dead too along with his entire family. And for a brief moment, you feel something like hope. Maybe things will be different now. Maybe you can demand wages for your labor, better conditions, actual ownership of the land you have worked your entire life. You try. You band together with other survivors and ask for fair payment. The new Lord responds by having 3 men hanged as examples. The message is clear. Nothing has changed. You are still property. So you leave. You become an outlaw because there is nothing left to lose. You join a group of former peasants living in the forest, surviving by robbing travelers and raiding isolated farms. You tell yourself you only take from the rich, but that is a lie. You take from anyone who has something you need. You have become the thing you once feared. The bandit who emerges from the trees with a weapon demanding food, money, anything of value. Sometimes the people you rob resist. Sometimes they die. You try not to think about it. You try not to remember that they have families too. Children who will go hungry because of what you took. Your wife did not come with you. She stayed in the village with your surviving daughter, and you send them money when you can, stolen coins that you hope will keep them alive. But villages are not safe for women alone. You learn that your wife has started working in the town brothel because there is no other way for a woman without a husband to survive. The church calls her a sinner. The town council taxes her earnings. The men who use her treat her like an object, something to be purchased and discarded. She is doing what she must, the same as you. And you hate yourself for not being able to protect her from this. You think about your daughter constantly. She is 14 now, old enough to understand what her mother does. Old enough to know what future likely awaits her. You have stolen and probably killed to send her money. And it is still not enough. It will never be enough. The world is designed to devour people like you, like your wife, like your daughter. You are all just trying to postpone the inevitable for one more day, one more week, one more season. One night sitting around a fire with your fellow outlaws. Someone asks if it was worth it. All the struggle, all the compromise, all the things you did that you can never undo. You do not answer because you do not have an answer. You are alive, which means technically you won. But what you have become in order to survive feels like a different kind of death. You are a peasant in medieval Europe, and this was your life. Every single day was a battle against forces you could not control. Starvation, disease, violence, exploitation. You made choices that destroyed parts of yourself because keeping your humanity was a luxury you could not afford. You crossed lines you swore you never would because on the other side of those lines was survival. And survival was the only thing that mattered when your children were dying. You were not a monster. You were a human being trapped in a monstrous system. You loved your family with the same intensity we love ours. You dreamed of better things with the same hope we carry. You laughed, you cried, you felt joy in small moments despite everything trying to crush you. And when the world demanded that you sacrifice your soul to see another sunrise, you did it. Not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to bear the weight of impossible choices. This is what it meant to be you. This is what you endured. The terrible things you did to survive were not the actions of an evil person. They were the actions of someone with their back against the wall. Someone with no good options, someone trying to protect the people they loved in a world designed to destroy them. We cannot judge you because we have never faced what you faced. We have never had to make the choices you made. Perhaps in your position we would have done the same. Perhaps we would have done worse. That is the true horror of your story. Not that people did terrible things, but that they were forced into situations where terrible things became the only path forward. You survived as long as you could. You fought as hard as you could. And when the world finally broke you, it was not because you were not strong enough. It was because the world was too cruel. Remember that. Remember what you endured and understand that the medieval peasant was not some distant historical figure. The medieval peasant was you trying desperately to survive in a nightmare you never asked to.